Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Front Row at the Center. This is your host, Dan Fraser, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the next half hour, because on this evening's show we have Frank Trainor, and when you're listening to this show tonight, Frank will be in Toronto. Welcome, Frank, to Front Row at the Center.
Thank you, Dan.
The reason why we're having Frank Trainor on is Frank is a local boy and off to the big time, and he's certainly done some things in the last few months in the recording business, and we're going to wish him all the best as he goes out into that wild industry. Frank, how did you get involved with music? First of all, were you always musical?
I've always played guitar for as long as I can remember.
Is that right?
I guess I started when I was 13 or so, and it just happened from there. I just continued and kept at it.
And mainly, are you interested in composing music, or?
That's my main interest. That is my main interest, although I love to perform, too. And the more chance I get to perform, the better, the happier I'll be.
Right. Which came first, the music or which does come first, the music or the words? It's like the chicken and the egg.
It's like I was just going to say, it's just like which came first, the chicken or the egg. It varies.
It does.
Unlike the chicken or the egg, or unlike the chicken and the egg, rather. It's different every time. I could get a melody today and maybe some lyrics. It's 6 months from now, or I may get lyrics and put a melody to it, structure a melody around the lyrics to fit the form.
How does one get to compose a song? I mean, is it just a feeling, a mood, or what?
I think
I know it's hard to establish. This is an artistic thing.
When I started to play first, it was more just playing other people's songs. Mm-hmm. You have to. Everyone starts that way.
Yeah, right.
Well, practically everyone. Some people go right into it and start writing songs. But I found that I get tired just singing other people's songs, and I decided one day that I'd like to try something on my own. And I do believe, too, that not everyone can do it. You know, like I believe that it had to be an inspiration rather than just a chore to write something. So inspiration, I guess, is just something that comes along without you realizing what it is first, and then you realize later that these songs are, whether you're dry for 6 months and don't write anything, something will happen. Eventually you'll write another one. And it just happens.
Well, the first song you wrote that was published, was it Our Love and Times?
It was Our Love and Times, right.
And it was recorded by the Mercy Brothers.
By the Mercy Brothers, right.
And that song, did that do very well on
that? Did exceptionally well, and I was really surprised and really happy, because usually your first endeavor, your first venture into this business is one everyone tells you not to be too discouraged by.
Right.
You know, it takes a lot of people a long time.
It's a rough road.
It sure is, and I don't anticipate any rainbows over the side of the hill when I move to Toronto, but I do expect to work at it, and it's what I want to do, and my mind is clear on that. But it did really well, getting back to Our Love and Times, it did really well. It got an award, 1974 BMI Canada Award for outstanding contribution to Canadian music, whatever that means, and it was one of 29 songs that got that award. So I was happy.
How did you get that to the recording people, that song? Like somebody now listening in on the show and composes music, right. How do you go about getting your song published?
Well, I didn't even plan on going about getting it published, because, to tell you the truth, I didn't have the confidence or the belief at that time that a guy in Prince Edward Island could ever have one of his songs published and recorded by a group as well known as the Mercy Brothers.
And end up winning the Canadian award.
Especially ending up winning an award, and that was the farthest thing from my mind. But the Mercy Brothers happened to be playing down at a club here in Charlottetown that I used to go and watch different groups play at. And I happened in one day, met them, played the guitar for a second, and they just said, I think you're going to write something someday that's going to sell. So it just went from there.
And then you gave them the music?
I gave them the music, and they recorded.
Well, let's hear Our Love and Times by the Mercy Brothers, and Frank Trainor wrote the song.
Of all the games we play with each other, I like the game of love the best. Of all the things you give to me, baby, I like the love you give me best. And when I tell you I need your tender touch. You can be sure, I know for sure, I want your love so much. Of all the time we spend with each other, I like our loving times the best. And when I tell you I need your tender touch, you can be sure, I know for sure, I want your love so much. Of all the things you give to me, baby, I like the love you give me best. Of all the time we spend with each other, I like our loving times the best. I like our loving times the best. I like our loving times the best.
You're listening to Front Row at the Center with Dan Fraser, and my guest this evening is Frank Trainor, and he's the gentleman that composed that song for the Mercy Brothers and won a Canada Award. Frank, you then decided that you were going to sing and compose your own music.
Well, after that, you know, after getting something on record, my head was in the sky, really, literally. I didn't believe it could be done from here, but when it did happen, it gave me a lot more confidence, and I think because of that, I've been writing better songs, more musically structured. So a lot of songs in the early stages, I found, anyway, are sort of free form, the anything goes type thing. But after you realize that to get records made and to get them played, they have to be a little commercial. They have to be along the commercial line
Right.
to sell.
That's right.
So, pardon?
No, I was going to say you have to write to the selling public.
Oh, yes,
people that are going to buy
oh, yeah.
records.
And it's not hard to do. A lot of people will say to me, you know, how can you just write for product? And it's not really writing for product. You're writing actual songs and actual feelings, but you're putting them into the music of today, as it were.
Right.
You're structuring them around the market, you know.
Now, you were on a tour last fall, were you not?
No,
last
in
summer.
July, right.
Right. And you went from Charlottetown to where?
To Edmonton, Alberta, and it was my first time out west, and let me tell you, did I ever have a good time. Oh, God.
That's
perfect.
why you want to go west.
That's why I'll go west, young man, they tell me. Why not? No, I really had a good time. There again was just accidental how I happened onto this little excursion. I got a call from Jack McAndrew, who is now with the CBC in Toronto, but Jack had, through the years, the last 4 or 5 years, had been advising me and helping me in any way he could, and got me a tour with the Poppy family in 1972, Terry Jackson, Susan Jackson, which was a great boost as well. But he gave me a call one day and told me that the Department of Education were looking for an Anglophone troubadour to sing at various universities on various dates across the country as part of a linguistics program, a summer linguistics program happening at these universities. And that was just terrific. You know, they took care of everything, and I got my fee as well. I had a terrific time. It was sunny and hot every day. Anywhere I went, no matter where I went, it was always sunny and hot. So things were rosy for that month.
And then you came back to Charlottetown, and you were
Yes.
featured in the Music Now series
Right.
with a big name, Gino Vanelli.
Getting bigger all the time, too, I
Yes.
might add. He recently did a concert in Toronto that Elton John attended. And he's really making his mark. He's going to be a superstar. Like there are superstars, megastars, and little guys like me. But he's going to be, I think, a big superstar.
Well, you're just starting to go up the steps. That's you have to be
suppose, yeah.
patient.
That's right.
Then you made a release in the fall. Was this
yeah.
fall you made a release with This Morning 5 O'Clock Rain
Thursday
morning,
Thursday
yeah.
morning, right.
And Here Comes Another Lonely Day.
Right.
You recorded that this fall?
No, Dan, those songs were recorded 2 years ago.
Oh my! Oh.
And finally got released.
It took that long?
It took that long.
Why does it take that long?
First of all, there was a problem in getting a label. The Mercies had a lot to do with the recording of this song. I did it in their new studio in Elmira, Ontario. But at the time when that was recorded, there was the scare of a vinyl shortage. And there was even talk of putting two artists on one record, you know, one side of an album, say
Frank Trainor and the other side,
the Mercy Brothers, something like that, you see. So there was an awful scare, and record companies, especially Canadian record companies, were not signing anyone new unless they had to, unless it was someone who had a contract and had to go in and do an album or a single. And even then, they were holding back. They weren't releasing as many records, you know. Also, there's a thing when you go into a record company's doors and go to the office of the highest executive. If he has a tape on his desk by Frank Trainor and one by Neil Diamond, I'm sure he's going to take a second look at Diamond's and not a second look at Frank Trainor's.
Right.
So there was a little, you know, worry for a while that they wouldn't find a label. Finally, they found a new label that was started in Toronto through Canadian Music Sales, which handled a lot of older labels. But they started a fresh one called Rejoice Records, and they wanted Canadian talent. And they were hunting, but it happened, again, accidents have been happening through the years. It just coincidental.
Right. All luck.
All luck, that's what it is.
No, it's not all luck, Frankie. You have to have the talent also, but they always say it's luck. I mean, there is a certain amount of luck involved. Maybe we should, Frank, hear Thursday morning, 5 o'clock rain.
Okay.
It's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. I'm gonna be on that 9 o'clock train. I'm gonna leave here 'cause there's just too much pain. And it's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. I had my bags packed last night before 10, and I don't know if I'm coming back again. There's no sense thinking this is where I belong. The sooner I leave here, the happier my song will be. And it's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. I'm gonna be on that 9 o'clock train. I'm gonna leave here 'cause there's just too much pain. And it's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. Now it's hard to leave a place you've always called your home, but sooner or later I knew I'd have to roam. And I don't regret it, 'cause I've always felt alone here. So tomorrow, now I'll be moving on. And it's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. I'm gonna be on that 9 o'clock train. I'm gonna leave here 'cause there's just too much pain. And it's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain. It's Thursday morning and 5 o'clock rain.
As you can tell, that's Thursday morning, 5 o'clock rain, and that was written by Frank Trainor and also sung by Frank, and he's right here before me in the studios. Frank, you're going to Toronto, in fact, this Thursday.
This Thursday. Not at 5 o'clock, though.
Not at 5 o'clock in the morning.
No.
No flight.
I don't think I'll be up that early.
No
really.
flight to Toronto at 5 in the morning. What, Frank, made you decide to go to Toronto?
Well, as everyone knows, or nearly everyone should know, Toronto is probably the capital of Canada when it comes to music or entertainment. Really, it's the heart. It's the
Right.
It's the main organ of activity, and
If you're going to make it, you got to be there.
to make any kind of a career or a life out of this business, you have to go and plug and really work at it. And there are a lot of avenues up there to choose too. So.
Will the
Makes it
record
easy.
company, let's say the company that recorded this Thursday morning,
Rejoice,
5 o'clock rain,
Right.
Rejoice Records, will they help you in your fields,
Well,
in the
they'll s-
field of recording?
Right. Oh, definitely. They'll certainly be there to push me along, because it's a team effort type thing.
Right.
It never used to be. It was up to the artist or up to the agent, whichever. But now it's become a team effort on
It's
both
more-
parties. You have to work together to make a record happen, first
Mhm.
of all, and you really have to work together to make it a hit.
Right.
You know.
And once you have those hits, then you can go out and do club work or television work. And
Yeah. Well, I can do that without a hit, and.
But it's far
It
easier.
is far easier. You get more calls on the telephone
Right.
without calling
Right.
yourself. You get people then requesting that you appear on this and this show and such a concert date, that type
Yeah.
of thing. As you become better known, and the only way to do that, I think, is to get your feet in those doors and make people know you.
That's
make
right.
make them understand that you're not fooling around. You're there for business, and if they want to get down to business, you show them what you can do, and you get yourself known. You build up a recognition.
Earlier in this year, in this new year, 1976, you were featured on the Tommy Hunter Show.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you find those type of shows help you?
Oh, definitely. And I don't think I ever felt more comfortable doing anything as I did when I did that show. It made me feel like, well, this is a great break. Now it's going to be even a little easier to do things and have people open their door to you, because a show of that
That's right. It's
of
a
that
nice-
status really
Right.
is nice to have under your belt when you're going into an office of an executive of some dinner club or wherever you happen to be wanting to play.
Was it through this record that was the reasons why you were invited to go on?
No, that's I would like to mention the reason why
Yeah.
I got that show. When Jack McAndrew took over variety broadcasting with the CBC, he got me on that show. And
So Jack didn't forget
contrary
his-
to the belief that a lot of people thought the Mercy Brothers got me on the Tommy Hunter Show because they did the show with me,
Mhm.
and because I have had a connection with them for a few years. I'd like to say right now it's not true. They have been a great help, and they're terrific guys. But it was Jack McAndrew and Jack McAndrew only that got me on that show. I think the record might have had a little bit to do with it too. It's the other guys who work with McAndrew probably
Oh, sure.
say, well, if he has a record, well, I guess he can't be all that bad. He won't ruin our show. So it was a little easier.
Right. It'd be easier for Jack to sell it to
That's
the,
right.
to
yeah.
the network.
It makes a nicer package rather than just going into it blind. Funny little story. Could I
Sure.
just tell you this?
Sure.
I was sitting in the studio in Manta Sound in Toronto waiting to do my pre-audio, and a pre-audio was simply going in, having the musicians play the music and ghost tracking the voice, and then you actually sing the song on the show. But the music is all played through speakers. And I was sitting there, and as you know, I worked in a clothing store here in town at Dow's Menswear.
Yeah.
So I had on fairly well-dressed clothes, that I'd gotten while I was at the store. And they walked by me, 3 or 4 times, and finally this one girl come up, one of the secretaries, and she said, "Are you Frank Trainor?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "God," she said, "you look like one of us." She said, "I expected some kid in blue jeans hanging onto a guitar." And I said, "No, I'm not going to use my guitar for this." So it was kind of funny, they expect from down east
Mhm.
somebody who looks like, with mud over their boots and
Right.
that kind of thing. And it was just kind of funny to see how really ignorant they are of
Eastern Canada.
Eastern Canada, really.
Well, that's
It's
great.
kind
I'm
of
glad you
amusing.
showed them.
It was fun.
On the other flip side of Thursday morning 5 o'clock rain, you have a record, Here Comes Another Lonely Day, which
Right.
hit the tops of the charts in Toronto.
Well, I tell you, that song was recorded before. It wasn't released as a record, but the Mercy Brothers had done it
Mhm.
themselves. They did it on the Tommy Hunter Show, to mention one, and a few other shows like Tommy Banks, Sing Along Jubilee, that type of thing. And they had played it in various clubs they had performed in. But they didn't release it as a record. Not that they didn't want to, it was just it wasn't on schedule. They may do it again later on. But then I decided I'd put it on the flip side of Thursday. Thursday was the A side, and we needed a B side, and we had tried various ones, different ones, but they all sounded like A sides.
Mm-hmm.
So we said, okay, we'll stick Here Comes Another Lonely Day on the B side, thinking that it wasn't of the quality that
It wasn't going to be the big seller.
the big seller.
Mm.
And I got shocked, and literally, I just didn't know what to say when I got a call from Toronto 3 days after the song was
Released.
programmed
Mhm.
on CHOO radio in Toronto. That's in Ajax, I believe. 3 days after they programmed it, they gave me a call to tell me that it went from nowhere to #1, and it stayed there for 2.5 weeks. And that was very heartwarming. It really
I
was.
can imagine.
It really, really was.
How
And,
did it do in Eastern Canada?
as far as I know, it did okay. There was a problem with distribution at the outset because the song was released, or the record was released rather, in the middle of the postal strike, right dead in the center of the postal strike. So it was kind of hard to mail out copies to the radio stations and the record stores, that type of thing.
Well, let's hear Here Comes Another Lonely Day by Frank Trainor.
Okay.
Here comes another lonely day, and I still feel this same old way. When will I find the one who's really meant for me? 'Cause here comes another lonely day. Here comes another lonely night, and here come those feelings that I try so hard to fight. I hope the day comes soon I won't be all alone, 'cause here comes another lonely night. Oh, where can I hide my heart till someone finds the key? Where can I cry alone till someone sets me free? I hope the day comes soon I won't be all alone, 'cause here comes another lonely night. Here comes another lonely day, and I still feel this same old way. When will I find the one who's really meant for me? 'Cause here comes another lonely day. Here comes another lonely day.
And that's Prince Edward Island's own Frankie Trainor, who's with me here in the studio. Frank, it won't be long. Well, I guess it'll be when people are listening to this show. You will be
I'll
in
be
Toronto,
gone, right?
Right.
I'll be gone.
Is there anyone you wanted to thank?
Oh, definitely. That's why I mentioned it to you. In leaving, I would like to thank both radio stations, CHTN and CFCY, and to name a few, Lauren Fevens at CHTN, Dave Holland at Lone Macaulay, Gary Barker, J.P. Goody, and everyone who have been really extra special in giving me the support and the confidence that I needed to get this record off the ground. They've been really terrific.
Well, I want to thank you, Frank, for joining me this
Thank you,
evening
Dan.
on Front Row at the Center. And on behalf of myself and everybody here at Confederation Center, and I'm sure every Prince Edward Islander will be out cheering for you. We'll be waiting for your next release. And
Right.
the way to support Frank Trainor, everyone, is to buy his records. And every time he's on TV, write those letters into the network.
It'd really be appreciated.
Yes. Okay, Frank. All the very best.
Thank you, Dan.